start out with, how is it working with MTV and developing this into a TV show?
That was great, actually. I had misgivings, as you might guess, because I always had misgivings about working with anybody when it comes to film. And I wasn't sure MTV was the right place either. But their commitment to the show was so strong, and they evidenced it early, which was encouraging. And the fact that they had brought in writers that I felt very comfortable with, and that I thought were terrific with what they've done in the past, who have a great history, and we connected as a team right away, and that made it easy too. So all in all, I think it's been a great experience. I'm very, very happy about it. I'm glad to be able to actually say this with a straight face and not have to say, yeah, it was okay.
So what do you think of the cultural shift? Because MTV was like the network that would, people who would beat up Shannara Chronicles fans, would watch, but now it's like completely 180. Fantasy is like the force of pop culture, and now it's like the coolest thing. How does it feel to become the cool guy in the room?
Yeah, we banished all those people of MTV to the far reaches of the universe. We'll never see them again. I think, they have a history of reinventing themselves, as you all know, starting out as music and then going to reality TV. I think we're in the midst of a shift. That was what was pitched to me. We want to be something more mainstream with network programming. We think yours is the show that will launch all of that. And that was encouraging to me because I like to be first, of course. And here was a great opportunity to take it in a direction nobody was expecting, and everybody was going to say, this is never going to work. What are you thinking? And make it come out to be something wonderful. And I really, really feel that that's what has happened.
Now, do you think television is a better medium than a full-length picture because you get to develop the story more? If you had your choice on that, would you go big screen or small screen?
For years, I thought, movies. You got to do a movie.
Right.
There's all the cachets with that. But the fact of the matter is that with something as sprawling as the Shannara saga, even if you just do one book, it's very hard to get it to go for one movie.
Yeah.
2 hours, maybe 3 hours if you stretch it. Mm-hmm. But the development period and the end result that you can produce in a 10-season, 12, 14-season episode season is much stronger in television, and I think a much more successful way to go about it. And of course, the other thing is, dare I say it, that it's a writer's medium. Writers run the show. We call them showrunners, don't we? And they really do run the show. And for me, that was a godsend because the writers and I were close, and I knew then that I could sort of get my words in where I felt they would do the most good and feel like it was really something that I had contributed to rather than just stood on the sidelines.
What are you most excited about for people to see with this show?
Oh my gosh. That is very hard to say because there are so many wonderful things about it. There is in the very first episode, there is a scene that will knock your socks off with Manu Bennett. I mean, it defined him for me, and I can't talk about it except that it takes place in a cave. But you'll know when you see it, and it's just one of those that sends chills up your spine. It has everything going on at the same time with special effects and a dark backdrop to it and everything. And just really a wonderful thing. So I guess that type of thing, there's a lot of that in the whole season. I don't know. That's a really hard question to answer for me because I'm very invested in the show as a whole rather than just as individual parts.
Okay. I read the books when I was younger, and I just have to know, I didn't pick up on the post-apocalyptic thing until later in the series, so am I just very dense, or was that something that you just wanted to introduce earlier in the show?
I wrote, 8, 10 of those books before the post-apocalyptic thing ever came in. People
okay,
say,
good. I thought I'd missed something.
Where does this take place? What world is this in? And I always say, I don't know, what do you think? And that was a great answer for years until I decided, after hearing people say, what about the prehistory? What about where is this world? Are you ever going to write anything? And then I started writing Armageddon's Children, and I had that really Fisher cut bait on whether it was this world or some other world. And I experimented with it, and it just seemed best that it would be this book. Yeah.
This book is part of the original trilogy, but it really stands alone as far as the characters. They don't appear in any other books other than Manu's character. Was there any thought to a different series, one that maybe planned more seasons with the same characters, or did you know this was the book?
No, it was never, nothing else was ever considered. Everybody agreed, I think we all agreed it should be Elfstones, but it's like when you write a book. If it's your first book, you don't think, well, I think I'll write, 5 or 10 of these. You say, let's get one down and get it right, and then we'll worry about the rest of it later. And of course, that was what I did with those first 3 books, was write one at a time and hoping that I would get far enough that then this might launch a career for me, because I really, really, really wanted to be a writer. And I knew that a lot of people didn't get there. So if I was lucky enough to have one successful book, I had to get right on top of the next one. But it also, as the things I said out there at the panel there about the fact that Elfstones really feels like one of the best things I've ever done. People feel like it's one of the best things, and it lends itself so well to an adaptation that it seemed the logical place to start.
Follow up on that. So hypothetically, this takes off, and you can do anything, considering that the Shannara Chronicles is a sprawling, multi-generational saga. What would be the favorite thing you'd love to see adapted?
I'd say all of the next 23 books would be about right. If this ran 23 seasons, I think that was about right. I don't know. I'd like to see it progress in a logical fashion. We're going to have to do some adaptation, obviously, unless we're going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So I have to figure out how to do that. The writers and I have already started to work on that. So I'd like to see it progress through the series the way it's progressed in the writing. But, they're free to pull from different places to do some mixing and matching. I'm sure we'll do some of that. So we'll do, I think, it'll be the usual give and take. And they will have some ideas, and I will have some ideas, and we'll compromise somewhere in the middle.
It's so much media out there now, self-publishing, and there's so many genres that have their own audiences there. And you just said you always wanted to be a writer. And thinking back now, if there's a young Terry Brooks out there now, just trying to get their feet wet, what would your advice to be them? Determination? I mean, look how many years you pushed for this, and now you've seen it come through.
Well, yeah, you've got to have a lot of patience. How many years has it been to get to this point? I always said, I'll be 30 years dead before anything happens. I'll be just like Tolkien.
Yeah.
He's not here to enjoy what happens.
No T-shirts or toys for him.
What the heck, No, that's right. So who's benefiting from this that I want to benefit from it? Well, so at any rate, I tell young writers the same thing, or new writers the same thing, young or old, I guess, is that you have to have a lot of patience. Yeah. You have to be a student of the craft. This is a craft, and you learn. Somebody asked that question out there today. I can't remember about, and I was thinking, you have to do it every day. And every day you have to pay attention to what you're doing, because you learn by doing. And you get better. We're never done. It's an education that never ends. I'm not, a complete writer. I'm a writer learning what to do. Screenwriters feel the same way. We're all in the same boat. We're trying to be better all the time. We're not just trying to coast along. Yeah. And if you're a real writer, that's what you have to do. And I really think young writers have to have the understanding that it is a school all the time, and they have to learn, rather than just thinking it somehow happened through magic. Yeah. Sit down and write, somehow it'll happen. It won't work. No. Unless you're really brilliant, and there's only about 2 people out there.
Well, those rejection letters you might have got just keep you going. They fuel it, determined. Or don't let it get you down.
I never got rejected.
Nope. I'm just saying.
Even my mother loved me. No, my first book got picked up. But yeah, most writers got rejected multiple times. Really, really good writers who have had great careers. And the lesson was that it's only one person's concept of what your work is and whether it's successful. Right. So you have to remember that person shifts to another place. One of my favorite writers went through all the houses twice, and he got picked up by one of the houses he'd been rejected by before, eventually, because a new group had come in. They move around all the time. So again, it's just one person's view. It's like hearing from a critic. I don't like these books. Okay, well, that's your privilege. There's many other things out there that you will love, and you don't take it personally. You never take it personally.
Terry,
All right. I'm out. Yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned downstairs.
One more question.
You mentioned
Yes.
downstairs about how this book, unlike the first one, had these strong female characters, which was incredibly groundbreaking in the genre at the time. Was that a conscious decision by you, or did it happen more organically that they just happened to
Well,
develop?
let me just tell you about that. I heard from a lot of females who had read the books, fans, readers that said, how come you have no strong female characters in this first book? There's just one peripheral character and that's it. And I thought, because I never thought of it, but that didn't seem like a really good answer at the time. So I thought, well, in the next book I'll make up for it. And I've been, and plus I live in a matriarchy, so I'm surrounded by women. So I've been making up for it for 35 years with strong female characters. And it makes it a much more, I think it makes a stronger book to have a balanced cast, as it were, of female and male characters. And I like the idea of strong female characters because I get bossed around a lot, I don't know, but it just seems more appropriate and more interesting. It's more interesting to me to write about female characters.